Om Shanti. We are the three of us today, Beanie, Rashmi and myself, in Romford Inner Space Centre, are going to talk about the power to pack up today. So it's basically when you actually want to change yourself and change the way your life's heading, you would use the power to pack up, because certain thoughts, certain words, certain actions need to be inhibited, to be stopped basically and transformed. So to break habits, we have to stop working on them, and by working with the habit, where we keep habitually doing something, as in becoming angry, reacting, being impatient as a reactive habit, then they get stronger, they don't get weaker. So in effect, they're actually making the self the slave to habits. Mankind at the present time is a slave to his habits, and what's happening is he's disempowering himself, so he's got no power for the virtues to be empowered, because he's losing all his energy to becoming disempowered to things of a negative nature and negative habits. So, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but in actual fact we prove that not to be true, because these habits in Raja Yoga meditation magically become transformed, because of the extra power coming into the consciousness. So normally when people do pack up a bad habit, they take on something else, like a person will pack up smoking and eat more sweets and then become obese potentially. And some people, they pack up eating food, and they become, they don't, because of shame basically, they hide their food away and pretend that they're eating. So all of these have caused a lot of mental breakdown in our society, because a lot of people's habits you don't even know about, and they're actually the slave to their habits rather than control habits. You can create good habits, but once again, some people are perfectionists and they habitually do everything they can in a perfect way, and they call themselves perfectionists, but although that seems to be a good habit, in actual fact it turns out to be a habit that people are still enslaved by, because they have certain ways of doing things and they tend to think that that's the best way, because that's their belief system, and they can't adjust to other people's ways of doing things, and they're quite harsh to people that don't do it their way, and you can tell they feel that they know best, and that becomes a habit to pack up, thinking I know best, because everyone's opinion counts. There's nothing really wrong unless I make it feel wrong. So even though someone's doing a very, what I call a bad thing, the feeling of bad is not connected to what they're doing, it's connected to my own feelings that I've accumulated by thinking my way to be the right way.
So this power to pack up will only be used if I'm not happy with my own habits or my own way of life. Then only I can change, or I should use the power to pack up. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing that anyone can do is to follow a true path of spirituality, in which I'm actually living in a different way, thinking in a different way, speaking under the influence of my spiritual path of being more spiritual, because everyone's problems in the world is because of a lack of being spiritual, basically, and not everyone's idea of being spiritual is the same, because they believe it to be something that they follow rather than something that they live. That's the difference, isn't it, between following a particular path that someone else is following. I remember it was very much in the Siddhartha story when Buddha became Buddha, and Siddhartha couldn't follow him because Buddha didn't follow anyone. So he had to create his own spiritual path. And again, it's what he believes to be spiritual, because really being spiritual means to live as a spirit, and that means that the actual material world is something that is my domain that I use and put down when I don't need to use it. So it's like you're actually doing your job, but if the job is completely taking over your presence and your being, and you can't stop doing that because of fear of not paying the bills, of fear of, then all of a sudden when COVID-19, is that what it's called, COVID-19? When that comes along and people can't do their jobs, then they're forced into a position where they have to pack up going to work, and they haven't got the money coming in, but they're still in bondage too. And the reason why is because the spiritual path wasn't being followed by the person that was playing that particular aspect of a role that's in their life. They actually probably called it their life.
So the power to pack up isn't running away from your problems, is it? Because people see that, I'm just, I don't want to face that situation, so I'm just going to pack that up and I'm just going to avoid it. That's not what we're talking about here.
No. Can you say the question again?
Yeah, so I just want to know, how is power to pack up different from avoiding a situation, or is it?
I think what she means, a power to pack up, that means, am I running away from the situation?
Well, yeah.
Let's say, for like you've given the example of work situation. So if my work is giving me so much stress, am I actually just
Shutting
leave
that
the
away?
work and just shut the door of work and just stay home and think that my spirituality will bring me?
No, you're putting yourself in a position where you can take it if you need to and leave it if you choose to. So you're actually at work for a particular reason, and that's to actually make sure that the bills are paid, but you're here and that's there, and it should be always kept separate to the self, even while you're doing your work, just like we're doing this video now, and we should all be separate to the actual thing that's going on. So what you're doing is you're actually empowering something rather than it disempowering us. Because normally when people are at work, they come under the influence of so many factors, don't they? But it's only because that lack of spirituality is not there. So that's a great thing you wouldn't be able to pack up that overnight. And I'm not talking about pack up like these sannyasis in India. They leave the work altogether and go and live in a hole or live under a tree or something like that and call out for alms to be fed.
So power to pack up is not giving up your duties.
No, you're actually staying, while you're performing your actions, you're staying in a spiritual state. So it's like while we're doing the video, the body is performing the motions it should do. From my perspective, you're saying what you're meant to say or going to say. You're saying what you're going to say, meant to say or going to say. And that's up to you if you want to be separate. I mean, this being spiritual could actually be a way of looking down on others in the wrong sense, because I become wiser and I'm on a higher path in my belief system than they are. But it wouldn't be true in the full spiritual sense of the word, because you're actually separate from all that. That's all part and parcel of what you're separating yourself from, whether it be work, whether it be a religious path, a so-called spiritual path, or whether it be hobbies that people have. I'm not saying anyone's hobbies are bad for them, because I'm making and shaping myself not to be a part of everything that goes on from the body outwards. So in other words, if food is my maya, my bad habit, then by actually being more spiritual, then what the body connects itself to, it would be, well, I must be connected to the body in the wrong way, because it's my connection with the body that makes all these habits, what we call bad habits, isn't it? Because even good habits, people get arrogant about. So anything in the outside world that they become a part and parcel to, that needs to be packed up with, basically. The change needs to be brought in that. It's the one size fits all, isn't it? You're asking questions or making, because, we don't look on anyone as a teacher. We're all just instruments in making something come out into the world that's good. Who's ever meant to take it will take it. Who's ever not meant to take it won't take it. So you're actually disconnecting yourself to the things that are happening in your life. And your life, the definition of that is your role that's connected to a part that you play, which is your body that's connected to the part that you play. And you're now in a peaceful state of being that can take it or leave it. So, the job, whether you get the sack or whether, you can't work, it doesn't really matter. There's no difference between can and can't. That's the beauty of the power to pack up, is that you've packed up that way of thinking, because there's a lot of pressure involved in that, isn't there? I mean, even if you've got the job and you involve yourself so much in the job and you're good at your job, you're successful at your job, you're still controlled by that.
I have a situation where my husband's been working in this firm for 18 years, and he loves his job, and he's been making tremendous effort to stay in the job and perform his role fully, whatever describing his role. Now he's been complaining for 18 years that he's been making so much effort, but he's been victim of racism, non-appreciation, non-respect. But he's been dragging himself for all these years. But now he's at the point that he doesn't care about the job. He said, if I lose it, but I'm going to hold my self-respect. So now I need to understand where is the power to pack up can help him in this situation.
Well, his wisdom's already kicked in, isn't it? That all of a sudden my self-respect is going to be in separation from something that I do and something I was looking to achieve. And there's a realization that I just got sucked in. And I got sucked in because I thought it was a really good... When you get sucked into something, you put all your guards down. So you're getting a good, the feel-good factor. And as long as you've got the feel-good factor, it doesn't matter as long as your feel-good factor remains. But once things change, which they obviously have changed, then there's the realization that I need to do something different, think in a different way. And that's already happening. So it happens quite naturally, really, where we get a disinterest for something where we're not getting the feel-good factor. But then again, if they warm to me, and everyone goes my way, will I get suckered in again to the role, and will I pay less attention to myself? That's the burning question. That needs to be packed up.
But he's been thinking over this, that if I give in again like I have been giving in, then either it will carry on and I will have my job and I don't have to worry about losing the job.
When we say give in, what does that mean? Give in the sense?
What they want, because
It's a level of acceptance.
he thinks that they're just using him and there is no support he's getting from the manager and everyone from his team. But he's dragging himself because he wants to keep the job. But now, if he giving in means if he doesn't shout now that come on, I'm here, and pay me some respect or at least give me some tools to do my job properly. But if he doesn't shout, then he has to carry on just accepting the way it is. And if he doesn't, then he may lose the job.
I understand that, but people do is they shout, and it goes cyclic anyway, so it ends up back where it was before the shouting took place. I know it looks like shouting initiates something else, and there's change, and now this is sorted, but something else is catch up, because it's meant to happen in the physical world, because it's giving me a message. And the message is, it's doing me a favour. Actually, it's helping me. It's not hindering me. It's telling me that I'm caught up with something. It's a side effect of an illness, really. And that illness is still there, even though, people give it the medicine, and the illness is still there until I actually change that. And that's the reality, is that people get suckered into their roles and they get all the love in the world, and then when they don't get the love, they kick up about it, and then the love comes, and then the next time and the next time, it eventually reaches a point of diminishing returns, whereby they just listen to me like an habitual echo in the air, like the vacuum cleaner in the background. And that's not an insult to the people, but that's how they sound. And when you first make a mark and you actually put your foot down for something, there's an initial response. But after a while, they just get used to it and they start to becoming immune to that.
How does one deal with that then, to actually truly detach themselves from that situation and pack up from that kind of involvement on an ongoing basis?
Well, you'd,
How would that person bring the spirituality into practice?
Well, your work is not necessarily left at work. Your work is brought home with you in your mind.
Exactly.
So that's still going on throughout the day. So the best time to give it a break is sleep time and wake up time. So you actually break, put a full stop on the past and separate yourself completely from the physical body, the name, form, the connection with the physical body, because that's the root cause of the problem. The soul has come into the body and I'm caught up in something that I thought was a natural way of living. And so I've gone up this ladder of success, got my seniority in, got my we say self-respect, but it's not self-respect, it's respect. We got the respect from others, we got the people looking at me as worth something, and now all of a sudden I don't feel worth something because I'm carrying this cloud around with me throughout the whole day, and maybe upsetting everyone with my attitudes and my different moods that I swing from. So last thing at night, you would actually definitely spend quarter of an hour detaching yourself completely from your role so that the mind becomes completely peaceful.
But how will that change the situation that you face when you go back to work?
You're not looking to change the situation, you're looking to change the self.
Right.
The changing the self will change the situation. Maybe you're meant for another situation, another job elsewhere, another door to open. Just because one door closes doesn't mean to say that all doors close. One door in life, one door closes and one opens.
So, do you mean the power to pack up is power to pack up on worries as well?
Well, worries would go hand in hand with what you're worrying about, isn't it? Because you can't, if you've got nothing to worry about, in theory, there shouldn't be a worry. But people do say, I worry because there's nothing to worry about.
I think especially when it comes to job, worry is connected, always connected.
Well, it's connected to so much of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's connected to money, which is a power. The power of it has purchasing power.
Purchasing power.
Yeah, it's connected to the people that I live with and the people that I look after, the role that I play. How will I be seen
Status.
if I don't? Status, the position that I've got. It's connected to my future. So there are so many fears and worries that go on because of not being spiritual enough, not living spiritually enough, not living as the Spirit, because living as the Spirit packs up as it goes along.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know when you're going on a big holiday, when you pack all your bags up and there's so much stuff to put in there. Well, it's already packed, and you're just making sure that nothing comes out. It's already. It's the power to have packed up. It's a past tense.
That's quite interesting, actually. But if you stay on that spiritual path, and it's all about self-reflection and working on yourself, then the power to pack up will come automatically, and then it's already done for you.
Yes.
So when you already feel a victim, then it will be very hard for me to follow even, because I have to start following the spirituality rather than making the way of my life. So if I'm already victim, how would I?
But you're only a victim because you're what you do, not what you are. So because the identity is connected to what you do, is that you fall a victim of something that's happening to you, connecting to what you do. So you feel like you're being done, basically, isn't it? It's an injustice. So the feeling of being done must be connected to the feeling of what I do. I can't be a victim, can I, if I'm not doing anything primarily? I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm not in that consciousness of being done, nor am I doing. So although people say, I've done this and I've done that and I've done the other, and I'm really exhausted by what I've done, they're going to have the same to face tomorrow, because they're always the victim. They're always a victim of even the people that are doing such wonderful work at the present time, saving people's lives. It's still depleting their energy, isn't it? Because they know they've got to do the same again tomorrow. So again, you can't have the national health not burning itself out. It's impossible. Adrenaline can only go so far. Once it's been going on for a year, watch when it's been going on for a year and they're spiking and then lockdown, quieting down, spiking as soon as they come out again, because there's no actual cure for it. So the initial response is adrenaline, this burst of adrenaline. We've all got it. You get this burst of adrenaline, but you can't sustain that level of adrenaline. Eventually you'll just get worn out.
So how do I know when I have to exercise the power to pack up?
The thing is that it needs to be exercised all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So you're actually packing up as you go. You're staying in a soul awareness, a soul conscious state, not a role conscious state.
And that's quite detached, isn't it?
Very, very.
Yeah, now I understood. Now.
So you pack up as you go.
So you pack up on your role, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Because
little by
if
little.
I'm a spirit, I can't be a victim.
No, you can't, because that's what you are. That's not what you do.
So pack up on your role, and if I have to pack up on my role, then it has to be constant, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's got to be constant. To release yourself from tension, you have to have constant attention. That's the way to view it. If there's constant attention, what I'm doing is what I'm releasing myself from.
So even if
So I'm doing to release. I can't release myself without doing in a released state.
So it doesn't matter which worry or where I'm victim at home.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what I do either, because I've got to release myself as I go. So yeah, whether you're a victim to one thing, in actual fact, it's a good thing that we see. Every single program. I was speaking to someone this morning about it. Every single program is to do with these days justice and injustice. Because we want to see the person that has an injustice have justice, and we want to see the person that's causing the injustice to have justice against them. So we want justice for the victim and justice for the culprit, and we're kind of living in that feelings, and we say, I would never act like that, but we're the victim to what's on the screen at that time, because we're in that position. That's why we mouth those words. That's why we say what we say, because I'm in that position. You wouldn't put yourself in the position of the one that's the perpetrator, but you put yourself in the position of the one that's actually having the injustice done to them, and think that's a terrible state, because that's how caught up we are. And we need to learn how to watch television even.
So could you use the power to pack up in relationships as well, by being not packing up in the real world, but to pack up inside of yourself and become detached from the situation or that relationship?
You're working according to a code that covers everything, basically. The spiritual being, whether they're in a family, whether they're amongst strangers, really, it's the same. It's, it's detached, it's loving, it's the observer to other people's roles, whether they're a stranger or whether they're in a family. Because once all that family as a soul were strangers to me until I met them in another incarnation, isn't it? Till we actually all have family from the past life are all strangers now. So in reality, it doesn't really matter what. It's one size fits all. One method fits everyone. If you're spiritual, if you're practicing soul consciousness as you go, you're releasing yourself from the role as you go. So the role's not a bad thing. There's no role that's better than another person's role. No role that's worse than another person's role, because it's the same thing. The multimillionaire could be caught up in doing, and then all of a sudden, I knew a millionaire that was unhappy because he became a half millionaire. So it really hasn't got anything to do with what role someone plays, by thinking that if I was in this situation or that situation, if it wasn't that person, it'd be someone else. If it wasn't that thing, if it wasn't that job, it'd be something else. There's no one's role, no one's position that they're better off than anyone else or worse off, because it's a state of mind.
So power to pack up is the key for the happy life, to live happy life.
Yeah, because you get yourself back. People haven't got themselves. They say I don't feel myself today, but they never feel themselves, because they're the role self. They only say I don't feel myself today when they feel out of sorts with their role. When the role's flowing nicely, when everything's going well, God doesn't even have any attention on us because he knows we're happy, we're in the playground. He doesn't care if we play on the swings or the roundabouts as long as we're happy. But when we're caught up in our role, that's when God comes into the story.
And when we caught up, then only we need God.
Yes, yeah,
Call out for
yeah.
God, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't need anyone or anything when everything's going beautifully. And that, although people say they do, they actually don't. That's because they're emotionally low, why they cling to people and they believe they really need those people, and they even use the word can't live without them.
You've had a lot of recent news about people who've left the body because they've given up on life.
Suicides.
Exactly, suicide. So how, that's not obviously packing up, is it?
No.
Because then you still carry your karma with you to the next life.
Yeah.
So it's not really packing up.
No.
Yeah.
No, if you have the practice, another one to pack up, instead of saying no to everything, say yes to everything, that everything's good. Say yes. No matter if someone's given you the worst news in the world, say yes to it. Because you're not actually saying yes as in that's a good thing that's happening to someone. You're just saying yes to the accuracy of everything. So you're not actually discriminating that that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing like that. You're actually saying yes to the fact that it's happening, so it's meant to happen, therefore it's accurate. So you wouldn't say yes to them, you'd empathise with everyone, but you would only really help them, be able to help them if you're saying yes to their predicament for its accuracy, because then you're the doctor position and they're the patient. Because if you're the patient who sympathises with them, playing with words, but one is completely involved and the other one is not involved. One's caught up in the emotional drama to crisis mode, and the other one's just drama to drama mode.
What would you say to someone who's in a situation where they want to end their life and they think that is packing up and it's going to take them to bliss?
Yeah. No, I would just let them know that, whatever has caught up with them, they weren't able to leave behind before, so why would they be able to leave it behind now? Death isn't leaving things behind, because whatever goes with you, goes with you. And if whatever's meant to go with you will go with you, because it's something that's connected to what you're running away from, and you can't run away from anything in the world of karma. It finds you no matter what body you go into. So it's a lack of spirituality, it's a lack of insight, and that lack of insight leads to a lack of foresight. There's three, isn't there? There's hindsight, insight and foresight, and you're actually giving that person foresight so that if they don't believe you, they're not meant to believe you, they're meant to do what they're meant to do because they mean it. But some just say that because they don't mean it and they want someone to talk them out of it. So you're just giving them a little bit of insight, is that you take everything with you, you never escape from it. And if the person actually committed suicide in their past and is doing the same again, then eventually you've got to come to a point in time where you stop killing your body, because that's the biggest sin of all. Killing your own body, killing someone else's body is pretty close run to it.
These powers are quite linked, isn't it? Because the power to pack up is also linked with the power to face. Because
Yes.
You need to be able to face the
Yes.
situation and see it through, but in a very detached, spiritual way.
And it gives you more tolerance, doesn't it? Because it gives you more space.
Yeah.
And if you've got more space, then you can race. And you're an ace.
So you can say that power to pack up is a way of life as well, isn't it? Because you keep packing up the old habits. You couldn't say
Yes.
bad habits, but old habits.
Oh yeah, old.
Which
Good point.
unhappiness.
Good point. Yeah, you're right. People normally relate to bad habits that need to be packed up, but this is the worst habit of all. The worst one that's ever been befallen on mankind is what they do is not who they are.
So if someone doesn't give sorrow and doesn't take sorrow, they're packing up as well, aren't they?
Yeah, because you're neutralising everything, aren't you? You know, normally the process is that when I get praise, I soak it up, and when I get dispraise, I resist it, and whatever you resist persists. So that would carry on coming at me until I learn that one. So I've got to stop taking the praise and realise it's just a role that I'm playing well, and I'm playing my whole role well, not just a part of it. I'm playing my whole, even the way I sleep. I'm sleeping without taking the day into my sleep. So I'm a hero while I'm asleep. People would like that, wouldn't they? Not just a part-time hero, a full-time hero.
So crises are meant to come, isn't it, in your life? Because without crisis, you wouldn't use any of the power,
No.
or you wouldn't even know yourself, and you don't even feel need to know yourself.
And that's perception again, isn't it? It's how you perceive a crisis. I mean, for you, something might not be a crisis, but for another person, it is a crisis. So
It's more individual, isn't it?
Yeah,
Crises are
yeah.
personal crisis, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all what you value, really. I mean, two people can lose their money and they can go down to, dal and roti, as we say, bread and water, the lowest, but to another person, it's the end of the world, because they've spent so much time in their life valuing and didn't realise that they're in danger of feeling devalued. Because they are the money, they are their wealth, they are their account. And so for you, you may have looked at money as just, some people look at food as a dream come true, to have their favourite foods. Other people just look at food as fuel. There's just, my brother always says, it's just fuel, like that.
I think there is saying that Gujaratis they live for food.
So it's a big lesson in Gujarat.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you don't have to follow suit just because you're born into a particular region anyway, because all souls are different, aren't they?
Everyone eats to live, and we live to eat.
That's it. Good point.
Right. So can we do some meditation?
Yeah, let's.
And again, give your thoughts, which we can use in crisis,
Sure,
so that we can pack them up.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So the power to let go is a large part of packing up, transforming the way I think and the way I live. My life is much more precious than the role that I play, because I am precious, playing a special role, because I make it special, playing an elevated role, because I make it elevated. Just through the one lesson of separation, letting go of the name, form and gender of the body, and sitting in a state of rest, in a state of peace, the watcher of the role will no longer be caught in the web of the role, because I realise that the one that created the web has now decided to destroy the web. I am not what I do. I am what I am, a peaceful, loving player of the game of life. And the game of life I will win, because the one that's playing the game is already victorious, a winner. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Oh, such good meditation, Ananda.